released. I took to the lousy Scrag, my favorite bar, and parked down the road. With a spring in my step and a tired but honest smile on my face, I beelined for the building. The bar was a 5-minute walk from both my apartment and the parking lot where I paid a monthly fee so I didn't have to worry about someone smashing in the windows or scratching the paint. The apartment was just close enough for me to crawl into bed without losing myself in a drunken stupor on the streets of Neo Carolina when I was done drinking. It was a gigantic city, a megapolis as they called them. Just over 30 million people living underground, above ground, and in the citadels up in the sky, clear from the smog and dirt. The police presence was extremely heavy ever since the place had become the gathering hub and one of the forward base worlds from where the war machine was oiled up. I didn't care, in all honesty, as I was now one of the locals, or at least that's what I hoped. They didn't give me any trouble despite knowing I was ex-Special Forces. I stopped at the front door of the lousy Scrag. It still had those ancient doorknobs which you had to literally pull to open. Although they were made illegal hundreds of years ago, some places, and especially lousy places like the lousy Scrag, would rather pay the fine than fix them. It wasn't politically correct to have doorknobs because other alien races of the Commonwealth Federation might not have the appendages necessary to open them. What damn bullshit. Who cared about such trivial stuff? Those who slept in their high castles and were trying to please the Ka war machine. There were no aliens in this bar. There never were, and there probably never would be. The Ka, the Iminis, and other species that ruled the stars would never even think of hanging out with the human workforce. We were just like ants to them, nothing more. Just as I was about to pull the door open, another boom echoed across the skies. Another one? That was already 2 in just the last hour. An eerie prescience washed over me as I felt a cold tingle run down my spine. Still, 2 carriers in one day? Could be just a coincidence. Yes, that was it. This was probably just a coincidence. I pushed the door open and was immediately greeted by loud music and the heavy stench of acrid smoke from cheap burners the working class consumed instead of the luxurious cigars or cigarettes. They mostly resembled cigars, but were full of a tar-like substance that burned bright red. The bar was crowded with people from the so-called upper class of human society, though we were nothing but glorified slaves. Those lucky enough to have skills that promised a secure job in either tech, medicine, education, or other places of worth that didn't require literal human strength to perform. I lowered my briefcase next to my chair as I sat and waved at the waiter. He brought me a black reindeer on ice, the usual I had whenever I came here. The synthetic alcoholic drink appeared before me and disappeared just as quickly. "Another?" the waiter asked. "Another," I replied, and tried to flash him what could pass for a smile that said, "Keep it going." It was a Friday night, and just the way I liked it. A crowded bar, a lot of chatter to get lost in, cheers, laughter, and me just by myself in a socially detached but rather good mood at the bar. People knew me in there, and they knew that I wasn't a chatty man. I was polite, sure, but every line on my face would tell them to speed up their conversation and leave me alone if they bothered me while I was drinking. 2 more drinks made their way to my table, and I downed one of them just as quickly as I stared out into the crowd. The club had a rustic, almost vintage look to it, with real wood being used on the inside. Girls were dancing on the floor as guys tried to approach them but didn't seem to be having much luck. I almost saw my old self in several of the young men, remembering some unpleasant situations. I shook them aside quickly when I noticed a young man in uniform walking straight toward me. "You're that Rick guy, right?" he asked and pulled up a chair without so much as considering if I would mind him sitting there. For some reason, he seemed to think I was very approachable and talkative. My mood soured as I read his name tag. He wasn't even enlisted yet and only had a recruit's name tag. Leo Madrigo. "What of it?" "Is it true that you served a term? I could use some tips and pointers if